High Warlord, our attempt to capture the Templars led by Roe Morgan, student of Duck's Command, has failed. We've had the barbarians attack. We hope they can take many of them prisoner.
Good. Where is Baikal? Why is he not here to give me this good news?
Our spies have informed us that a caravan for Princess Lydia is headed for their town. Lord Baikal wanted to stay in the north to intercept it.
Taya, you must escape. The ears of a Morgan must hear our message. On word of Princess Lydia, I will hold them off long enough that you can escape.
Let Baikal know that he and I have much to discuss when he returns. For now, I have business of my own to attend to.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to episode 9 of the medieval Rimworld series. And, oh no, Yunta has been cut off by the bandits. They're attacking. Looks like they have some sort of leader with them. That sort of his looks quite familiar. As they're coming in, the alarm has been raised amongst their colonists. Everyone would leap out of their beds, getting ready to head to their battle positions. Although some, like Chance, would stay behind as a last line of defense to protect the children. Our first engagement with the enemy didn't go well, with the Law fungling his attack and Edmund being knocked down. Kiko too had some trouble, but with some help from Jalise and Ernest's magic, we would begin to fight back this first wave of raiders. Jalise would also have a chance to show her powerful lightning magic, causing great purple thunderbolts to rain from the heavens, stunning and stopping several of the attackers, giving us a good chance to regroup. Ernest would attempt to slow the western group that had dug through our wall, while Ryo rushed the attackers. We would sick Icemore on one of the raiders who broke through, as Mia launched an arcane bolt, killing an enemy. It seems with their casualties, the leader had decided to call his troops back to retreat, attempting to kidnap Ryo. Icemore, of course, wouldn't have this, flying in and eviscerating the man carrying Ryo. Not all would escape though, as Icemore let off a firebolt, singeing one of their combatants. In the carnage, a few raiders had made it into our hole, meeting Larry and Bryn, erupting in a fight where Larry fought valiantly. They did unfortunately knock Larry out, bloodying him up, but this didn't come without Ahsoka coming over, killing 2 of them, actually beheading one of them. What a savage. Ahsoka and Icemore would chase the last one through the forest. We couldn't allow them to escape with what they'd done. And escape this man would not. They ended his miserable bandit life. I thought they made quite a good team on this chase. With the bandits being successfully fought off, we turned our attention to letting the kids run free, while those in need of medical attention were cared for. This battle, however, wasn't without its losses. Ahsoka made the discovery that unfortunately Jalise took a projectile to the heart, causing her to drop dead. Justice was served, however, as her killer was the mongrel that Icemore had savagely burnt. This battle was certainly bloody. We were quite saddened that we had lost our friend Jalise just as she had joined us. We don't have a proper crypt yet, so we would build a coffin in the church, which was botched at first, but would get crafted and assigned to her. We felt it was only right to let Ryo pick up a husk that had once housed the soul of our dear friend, laying her to rest within our midst. She'll remain in good company. Returning to normalcy a bit, our gold ore from the mining outpost had come in on Muffalo back. We would find out in the wake of the battle that Kiko's having a rather rough time. He's now lost a leg on top of all the other body parts that he's already missing and has prosthetics for, so we would have Nora attempt, but fail, to install an artificial leg, cutting him up more in the process. And while we're on the topic of botches, I would have the old prison building torn down, but forgot to remove the roof first, which ended up hurting Brim. We then had a wanderer seeking to join the colony, named Pele. Edmund recognized him, remembering that he was one of the Templars that traveled with him prior to him being caught and subsequently rescued by us when he was a child. So, of course, we decided to accept him. He doesn't have any crazy good or special stats, so we'll keep him for now, but might have him start up a camp for us. And a camp he will indeed be starting up, but first we recruited one of our friends from last episode, Richard, who could definitely use relocation as we're out of beds, forcing him to sleep in the mine. Also, so I don't have to say his name. Now that we've found some work for these two, we would have Ryo set to work building basic components for our new magic building, so we could build the alchemy table and an arcane crafting spot, which Bryn had some trouble with to begin with, but Valor would lend a hand finishing it off. I took some time pondering which arcane research to go with first, but since we're at war, weapons really make the most sense, so we get stuck into them, as the bench is really quite useless without anything to craft. While our focus was on this room, I'd also had an extra unexpected building, that being a dragon's nest, which I wasn't sure where to put. Willed Mevis, as our white dragon from last episode, does have some fertilized eggs that will be laid sometime for this episode, I suspect. But onto a much larger and very different kind of project, we would begin deconstructing the northern entrance of the hold, as we're about to do a big wall upgrade. We figure we need to bolster our defenses, as up until this point we've been able to get by on just our magical powers, but as the enemies get more powerful, we're really getting need some proper defenses. We of course got started on 2 new granite walls after deconstructing, working over quite a number of days, as this is a pretty big building project for us. As the towers begin to take shape in the video, I should note I'm not so sure I like how large they are or the rounded design. I may change this in the future to something a little bit smaller and perhaps a little bit more square, but for now they're going to have to do because we really need some proper defenses from raids up here in the north, especially after that massive bandit raid from earlier this episode. We would also make sure that there's a nice strong iron gate that allows our allies in but keeps our enemies out. Now, during the construction of our Great Wall, we finished our research into arcane weapons, but we won't be crafting any straight away as we join you in the moment before Dragon Bloodshed. Peping Bloodshed of the Dragon, I mean, as we dogpiled this Silver Serpent. Hacking, slashing, stabbing, smashing, any word you could use to describe attacking, we probably did it in this exchange, even using magic and our own dragons. At the end of the fight, when the columnists began eyeing off the tasty dragon meat, I noticed only Dander's was damaged, and only a very small bit. It seems our armor has been well worth all the iron we've used on it, as it's really defended our colonists here. But now that we've proved how useful this new armor is, it's time to move on to some useful new weapons. Specifically arcane weapons that Ryo would begin to make. The first one would craft is going to go to one of our more overlooked characters of the series, that being Bring, who I'm finally going to show some proper love to, giving her a proper makeover with a cooler haircut and some appropriate apparel colours. But the cherry on the cake for her today is really this first arcane weapon that it's made just for her, being a Sapphire wand, known as Erebrea. And it looks like it's enchanted with Blaze, which can set fire to opponents with some sort of magical fire, some sort of minor shield ability which will protect us from attacks, and also a minor blast ability. Looks pretty cool if you ask me. We'd have Bryn equip this wand and go out to ride Icemore. I think she looks cute with the wand just sitting on his forehead as she wraps her arms around him. Now, Bryn is actually bonded to Icemore, so I think she should be his master rather than Ernest, who's currently been filling that role. Together, they'd run over the river to test out the new wand on one of our ruined carts, showing off its ability to shoot little arcane bolts of magic. I think she's really overjoyed with finally being shown some love and having this cool new weapon. But the fun wouldn't end there, we'd have more gold smelted. You see now, this is why we set up that mining camp, so we could get gold for all these weapons. it was a big brain play, you guys. We'd set Ro back to work, this time crafting a different weapon, that being Stengas, the excellent Sapphire halberd, which also has the blazing charm but also a warrior's shield, which I'm assuming will help defend in melee combat. But who will own such a magnificent weapon? Well, of course, it's none other than Danders, who, together with his dragon, Bryn and Icemore, would show off our 2 dragon-bonded characters with their immensely powerful sapphire weapons, made from the sapphires that fell in the meteor that beckoned Icemore into our colony. We will of course need to test out these weapons, and I think this steel ingot mining site nearby is the perfect place. We would send our dragons, their riders, Mia and Edmund, off to raid, arriving and riding in as a team, only a day or so after sending them out. They look very formidable to me. And indeed they are. The combat would break out after Bryn started shooting arcane bolts, prompting the miners to attack. Thus the dragons would begin to use their fiery breath to singe out enemies. When the melee fighting ensued, Dander's halberd would make light work of our foes, allowing us to continue scavenging the site and take a couple of prisoners home with us. Meanwhile, back at home, we would have a combat trader from the Kingdom of Borealis offer up a couple of their fine direwolves, as well as this Arablest, in exchange for some of our silver and the bandits' weapons that they'd left in our area. Not sure why they want them, but they're theirs to take. We would also give Nora a much-deserved weapons upgrade, equipping her with the Arablest, so she could defend herself and her colony, which will be mighty important right now, as we have a follow-up raid from the bandits. Looks like we'll need to deploy our people to our new defensive towers, which once there would begin peppering our foes with a rain of arrows, and of course some lightning magic and magic balls that will keep us safe within our walls. We don't want another death from these filthy bandits, that's for sure. When they were sufficiently damaged, we would charge in, finishing off the final raiders and capturing a couple more for our camps, that being Thin, Chudson, sorry, that's an interesting name right there, and Sharon Lee. I am sure you'll both make fine characters in our working camps. And while we're looking at people's names, we have a couple of names for our characters. The first being Vribo, who will now be known as Velen. This was suggested by commenter Lashui, who says it's the name of a priest in World of Warcraft, which I've never played, but I still thought this name was pretty cool. As a side note, Lashui seems to like leaving virtual popcorn for people in the comments, so I'll remind you all, be careful accepting virtual treats from strangers. I kid of course, but I'm not kidding about the next name for our new dragon, which is Kryos, suggested by Mart Veldheisen. Sorry, I know last time I had trouble pronouncing your name, had trouble again. Who says this name fits with the frost theme that we went with for Icemore. I think it's slightly masculine, but I like it nonetheless. Perhaps our prisoners don't like it though, as they're now trying to break out, but not if Ernest has anything to say about it. He would put them back in their place real quick with the spirit wolves. No more rebellions. Now, taking a pause for a second, I thought I would line all of the colonists up, just for anybody who's sort of joined later on in the series, to show who all the characters are. I did plan to do this next episode, but I think it's going to be a bit too action-packed, so we might not have time. Everybody's lined up in age order, left being the oldest, right being the youngest. Firstly, there's Bryn, who is 68, Danders, who is about 46, Ryo, Velen, Bjorn, Valor, and Nora are all early 30s or late 20s. Larry is 23, Kiko, Chantalise, and Masoka are all around 21. Nia, Ernest, and Edmund are all 19 or 20. Dux is 8, Carson is 7, and we can't forget baby Robert, who is now 2 in Rimworld years, I believe. Counting the dragons as well, Icemore is in his 70s, while Kryos is 55, so Icemore's really the old man of this colony. But now consolidating from our large group, these are the lucky members who have been chosen to head down south to Doctor's Fortress to investigate the mysterious item that remains there. Nora would quickly begin whipping up some survival packaged meals to prepare for the trip. We'll need these as it's going to be hard to find food on the way. Our group would prepare, saddling up animals, leading them down the mountain valley to where we would come together and begin our arduous journey. We've been waiting for this for almost half the series now, so this is really a big moment for all of our characters. As we close out the episode, we can see them slowly beginning to head out of the mountains on the world map. I should note that before episode 10, there will be a pretty big time jump. I suggest maybe roughly 6 months in Rimworld time between the start of our trip and the end of our trip. I will be playing through this off camera mostly, but I'll keep a few highlights and record when I really need to and show some of that at the end of next episode. But with that little explanation taken care of, I want to thank you all once again for watching. Hope you're enjoying still, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Goodbye.